What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crute Cast. I'm Jason Suchomel. There's Cole Patterson sitting beside me on the screen. We're a little bit early this week. Sometimes we wait till Wednesday or even Thursday to record these, but Cole's going to be doing some traveling. It's been an active weekend, both for Texas, for programs around UT, including A&M and Oklahoma. We're going to talk about all that. So we decided to knock this video out a little earlier. Who knows, Cole? Maybe we'll be recording another one in a few days if there's good news that comes down for Texas. But first off, hey, as always, let's shout out to our partners up there. You see Prime Shrimp, our sponsors up at the top that help us bring these videos to you. Again, Orangebloods is your promo code. Use that code to get $20 off your order at primeshrimp.com. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on this Crutecast video that just helps us as well. We can keep bringing these to you as frequently as possible. So, Cole, don't really know where to start, man. It feels like a lot has happened since we recorded this sucker, whatever it was, last Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't remember what day it was, but it feels like a ton has happened. We had the Texas pool party. Oklahoma had their version of that where they had a bunch of recruits come in. A&M had theirs on Saturday. We've had a couple commitments. We've got more commitments coming later this week. So I think I'm going to start with the freshest news, and it's not the best news. So if you guys that are watching, if you want to walk away for 2 or 3 minutes and come back, or hit the fast forward button, but we can't not address a couple guys who committed elsewhere, starting with Colton Vosik, the defensive lineman out of Westlake, commits to Oklahoma today, just a couple hours ago, I think, commits to Oklahoma on Monday. Let me say it that way in case we don't release this until Tuesday, but commits to Oklahoma on Monday afternoon. Big pickup for Oklahoma. Big gut punch for Texas, if we're being honest. He visited Texas on Thursday for their pool party. He was hanging out with Arch Manning afterward. He was hanging out with him at the pool party. That made me think Texas's chances might be improving. He then goes to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's always been a major player for Vosik, but winds up committing to Oklahoma. His dad played at Texas, Cole. He's from Austin Westlake. There's no way to spin it, man. This is a Rivals 100 member that you let get out from under your thumb if you're Texas and go to your rivals. So big miss. Your thoughts on Vosik as a player? I want to hear about what you think of him as a player and your thoughts on him picking Oklahoma.
Well, first of all, you said he was with Arch on that visit. They walked right past us, as we were camped out the facility. They were in the golf cart, and he tweeted the picture that night. It seemed like there's some momentum going there. It's hard to turn down playing with Arch Manning. So it seemed like they were hitting off pretty well. And then, the weekend ends and he's committed to Oklahoma. So obviously he may have already had his mind made up going into the visit, just wanted to take the visit. I guess we don't know that for sure. But, yeah, I mean, obviously a bad loss for Texas. You can't really spin out too much. As a player, he's similar in some ways to Ethan Burke, who Texas just signed in the last class. Obviously, they played together at Westlake. He's a very good edge rusher, guy that I think is just, scratching the surface of what he can be. He took over that state championship game against Denton Guyer, where he played against Jackson Arnold, who's also committed to Oklahoma. He's living in the backfield, won defensive MVP honors. Really long frame, great player coming off that edge. And like you said, he has ties to the Texas program. He's right down the street. A guy that you kind of have to keep in your backyard. We moved him up in the top 100 at the last rankings update, and he'll probably continue to rise, honestly. I mean, he's looks to be in store for another big season. Be a tough pill to swallow if you're Texas. As good as they have done recruiting the defensive line, you never want to lose that kind of guy, especially to Oklahoma. So, pretty rough news to start the week.
Yeah, I went back and looked. Two things. When Texas offered him, I think it was January, he visited UT for a recruiting event, and I had a picture of him from back then. Shortly after the state championship game. So he looks a lot bigger now. I just was looking at not just bigger, he looks more mature, and just facially, he looks like he grew up a bunch in 6 months. But also, I was looking back at when I interviewed him then, and I have always said on Orangebloods, and I didn't know he was going to go to Oklahoma. I'm not saying this, saying that. A lot of people thought it was going to be Oregon before this OU visit, but I've always said, hey, don't sleep on Oklahoma, because when I talked to him, this is back in January, I just said, hey, man, I know you don't have a list necessarily, but where does Texas fit in? How high is Texas if you were to have a list. And he goes, oh, they're up there. They're up there at the top. And unsolicited, he said to me, he goes, but Oklahoma's up there too. So Oklahoma's always been a school that was high on his list. Clemson was high on his list when Venables was there. Venables comes to OU, of course. So a lot of pieces just seem to fit for him. And that's a tough loss for Texas, but congratulations to Colton and his family. I'm sure he'll do well at Oklahoma. Texas will have to find – hey, Texas is recruiting offensive linemen like crazy, so we'll have some good battles in the coming years there. Yeah. So the other one that probably hurts maybe even a little more for Texas fans, and again, man, fast forward if you need to, but we got to talk about it. Anthony Hill commits to A&M on Saturday. That one, listen, he is a 5-star linebacker. He's a 5-star player at a key need position. We felt when he visited Texas officially in June, there was chatter behind the scenes that Texas had really gained some ground there, maybe kind of climbed into the driver's seat. He goes and visits A&M on Saturday and commits, and he committed pretty early. So what that tells me, Cole, his mind was made up before he got to College Station, I think. I don't think it was like he got there and got caught up in the momentum. So again, another gut punch of a loss for Texas. And I chuckle because on Orangebloods, my name was Mud on Orangebloods all weekend because I'm like, sorry, guys, I'm bringing you bad news. Everybody's like, kick Sukin all over to Texags or something.
You and Howard can reunite.
Yeah, we can reunite over at Texags. But Anthony Hill commits to A&M. Texas fans are like, it's a long way till signing day. Like, I don't think he'll waver, man. He and his family don't strike me as those type of people. So, again, your thoughts on Texas missing out on arguably its biggest defensive target on the board?
Yeah, I mean, you said you were kind of getting attacked on the thread or on the board on Saturday. I kind of was too. We had an update on Anthony Hill from Thursday night. I saw him at True Buzz Media Day, and we thought it would be a good idea to get the update out before the weekend happens.
Thank God we did.
Yeah. So we had an update, and he, looking back, I never expected him to commit to A&M that weekend. But looking back at the interview, he kind of did hesitate when I asked him if he had a timeline. He was like, not really. I was like, you sure? Going to do it before the season, to do it during the fall. And he's had to think about it. But even still, I couldn't have, read that he was going to, be committing to A&M so quickly. Like you said, he did before he even got to campus. Seemed like he already had his made mind up. But, yeah, I mean, great player. Obviously a 5-star player in every single way. And comes from a good family, good high-character kid. And another tough loss for Texas. I was never fully on board of Texas clearly being in the league. Just, I feel like A&M was always in there as well. But you also didn't expect him to make a commitment, before August either. So, tough pill to swallow for Texas.
Yeah, we kind of thought he would commit before his senior season began. But we read it wrong. We thought I thought anyways, Texas was in a good spot. But we said, they're going to have to withstand this A&M visit, right? Yeah. Well, they didn't really have to. A&M closed the deal before that visit really happened, so we missed the mark there.
That's what a lot of people are thinking. Texas either took the lead or at least evened it out, and then we'll see what happens after the weekend. But as you mentioned, he obviously had his mind made up before he even really got into town. So obviously A&M pushed the right buttons there.
Yeah, the confidence on the Texas side. I mean, he took his official visit, and people who spent time with him and, former teammates, whatever. I mean, they thought Texas was the team to beat, I think, but turns out maybe they were coming out of that weekend. Everybody loves their official visits, right? But shine of that visit apparently wore off over the.
Yeah, that makes it even crazier is that he committed, before or without even taking an A&M official visit. He still has that one still. So that's, if you're hoping for Texas to get a last shot to flip him, that's probably not a good sign. He still has that OV to take to A&M.
Yeah, exactly. He'll take that in the fall, and that's going to probably even solidify his commitment more. And yeah, Cole, we were at the Texas pool party, kind of hanging out, interviewing guys, and you mentioned that we had Cole leave early because we wanted you to get up there to interview Anthony Hill and some others at that True Buzz Media event. And I think it was Friday morning. You asked me, you're like, "Hey, should I go ahead and put out the Anthony Hill stuff?" I said, yeah, go ahead. Let's get it out Friday because he's visiting A&M on Saturday. I said, the narrative is going to change after Saturday once he visits A&M. I didn't think he was going to commit.
We didn't think he was going to commit.
let's get this sucker out there before he visits A&M and has all these glowing things to say about A&M. And lo and behold, you put it out on Friday, and then it's on Saturday. So
way to unpin it at second he committed, and it was
yes,
a ordeal.
And in fact, Cole, we had him as the lead story on Orangebloods. There's pictures, and our fans hate when we have that and that happens. Everybody's like, get him off the front page. So I was like, man, I better like write up a different recruiting update. And we're like, nah, we'll just move the war room back up in that lead spot. So yeah, you guys are getting to hear some of the inner workings of how the mindset of Orangebloods
very
works.
hectic for a little bit.
Yeah, and then we had to move Anthony Hill out of that top slot. So, but listen, I mean, that's a tough loss, and Texas fans don't want to hear it. But I literally sent Anthony's dad a message saying, congratulations to you and Anthony and your family. And I just, you guys have handled this like complete pros, man. And I really appreciate and respect Anthony and his family. So that's a tough blow. Yeah, they're good people, man. So tough blow for Texas, but congratulations to Anthony Hill. So now, Cole, I want to look forward a little bit, and I think we'll have a bit more positive news to talk about here. And we'll start with a couple linebackers, edge players who are going to commit this week and weekend. Darian Galette, we think is going to probably happen on Friday, and we know Braylon Shelby said he's going to announce on Saturday. So I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think we both feel pretty good about Galette to Texas. I think we feel Shelby is going to go to USC. I talked to some USC people today, and there's some confidence on the USC side. But again, let me get your perspective on those two guys. And if Texas lands Darian Galette, how big of a pickup will that be, especially on the heels of losing Anthony Hill? They can't afford to lose Hill and Galette.
Yeah, I mean, Galette's a guy that can play some edge or just a traditional linebacker position. He was a big riser in the rankings, really athletic guy, looks the part in every way. And, he's coming off I guess it's caused serious knee injuries. He's not going to play his senior year. So there's some risk there. But, I mean, when he's healthy, he's, top 100 player in the Rivals rankings. He's really athletic. Is in the backfield, runs track. He just plays basketball as well. But just well-rounded athlete, good player. Like I said, you can't miss out on those two guys. He's in the Marlin area. You got to secure that. And looks like we think, at least going in to the announcement a couple of days away, that Texas is in a great spot to do just that.
Yeah, I was told Texas is looking at him as kind of an edge player, outside linebacker maybe, but eventually could transform into a middle linebacker for Texas. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things with his size. You mentioned his speed and his athleticism, and we've talked about him on the track. He holds up well in the sprints on the track. So he is a big linebacker who can really move. Shelby, similar profile player. I mean, Texas would love to have both of them, but I think, based on the little bit of intel I picked up on Monday morning, I guess, late Monday morning, it looks like USC, you're starting to see some future casts and those things come in for USC. So those are usually pretty telling. So, I think Texas is going to miss out there, but what is Texas missing, Cole, by not getting Braylon Shelby if he does in fact pick USC?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to bring more bad news, but it does seem to be trending USC's way. See what happens the rest of the week. But, like I said, a similar player to Galette, a guy that's probably going to play some edge or he will play edge on the collegiate level. Could play some linebacker as well if needed. Just a really athletic guy, huge frame, older brothers in the NFL, so there's some good bloodlines there. Another guy can, complete package, defensive player. It's a really good year for that position in the state of Texas, especially when you throw in, Vosik at the edge position. So big for Texas to get Galette, but it would be great if they could find a way to get Shelby, but he seems to be going out to LA.
And if he picks USC, Cole, that's a guy that I'm sure Texas is going to continue to recruit all these players we talked about, but Shelby, it has been such a close race with Texas and USC. I mean, he's a guy that you continue to recruit heavily, I think, if you're Texas, if he picks USC, because it's a long way till signing day. And a lot of times as guys get closer to signing those letters of intent, staying close to home, staying close to family starts to matter a little bit more. So, I wouldn't 100% close the door on Braylon Shelby regardless of what happens on Saturday.
Especially, I was just going to say, especially with, last cycle, they were able to They continue to recruit Kelvin Banks, Cam Williams, and those kind of guys, and end up paying off. So yeah, if they just continue to chip away, he's the guy to at least keep an eye on. He's definitely worth all the resources they're going to put in that recruitment.
Yeah. And listen, we've talked about a lot of guys Texas didn't get or may not get. We talked about Galette, who we think they're going to get. I'm going to reference my old buddy, the late, great Jerry Scarborough, who used to run the True Orange newsletter for the older folks watching this, or older folks at my age watching this. They'll remember Jerry. Jerry was like, man, you got to celebrate the ones you get. He was talking about coaches, and I'm saying this for fans. Celebrate the ones you get and don't dwell on the ones you don't get. So maybe listen, you're not getting Vosik, you're not getting Anthony Hill. Those are big blows. But if you get Darian Galette, that's a big pickup, man. That's a Rivals 100 member. So that's an elite player that could really go anywhere in the country. So we've got Galette and Shelby committing this week. Cole, I want to talk a little bit, and we'll dive more into this one when we record probably next week. But Cedric Baxter is August 10th, so that's 9 days away. Would that be next Wednesday, I guess? So we'll probably record one before Cedric Baxter announces. But the running back out of Florida, listen, I still think Texas is the team to be there, right? So they got good news potentially coming there. Jalen Hill, there's a social media post that came up where he kind of on video, like somewhat, I don't know if it was inadvertently or what, but he basically said, I'm going to Texas. So, these are things that Texas fans can look forward to celebrating. Cole, there's another one. Circle the date of August 15th on your calendar. I think Texas is going to have some good news coming on August 15th. So, man, I get it. There's a recent trend of missing on a couple big targets, but this is still a recruiting class for Texas that ranks third nationally right now. And I think there's quite a bit more good news coming for Texas. So just trying to give everybody a pick me up and say not to get too down on this last weekend. So.
Yeah, for sure. And Baxter's a guy, similar, they missed out on Hill and Vosik, but, honestly, unless they missed out on Ruben Owens, but they're finding a guy in Cedric Baxter looks like to potentially fill that. And, Cedric Baxter is a very, very talented running back, one of the best in the nation there. So you can almost argue that they didn't really lose out in that trade just because of what all Baxter could bring to the table. Really big time player that's going to join Trey Weisner in that class. So if they go in there and beat out Florida and Miami and Texas A&M, yeah, for that caliber of running back, who I would imagine he would rise in the Rivals rankings. There's going to be another update in August. I would imagine he's going to rise back into the top 100. So that would be another big pickup. August looks like it could be a month of fireworks for Texas, similar in a way that June was. So we'll see what happens there. And Jalen Hill, if they're able to, he did take a visit out to Alabama, so that's obviously worth monitoring. But we still continue to feel good about where the Longhorns stand there. And he's made no secret that he would potentially like to play with Archie Manning and Jonte Cook. So I think these next few weeks, especially football season right around the corner, I think these next few weeks could be a lot of fun for Texas fans. Yeah,
I agree. And Cedric Baxter, I don't get too worked up about the rankings. I know fans do. They like to complain when their guys aren't ranked. And they think the running joke on Orangebloods is, commit to Texas, they're going to drop you in the rankings. You know what? Every fan base feels that way. They all feel that their guys are underranked and the rankings people are out to get them. But I do think Cedric Baxter, man, that dude to me looks like borderline 5-star talent, much less top 100 talent. So I'll be curious to see. I don't get involved in the rankings, Cole. I know you now do. So I'll be curious to see if he moves up and how much. So I want to kind of recap or just kind of go over. It seems like forever ago, but Texas's pool party was Thursday of last week. I'm going to let you go first, Cole. You got to talk to Sadir Mitchell before you had to leave. I don't remember who else you talked to, but kind of just what was the tone of your conversation with Sadir Mitchell, the defensive tackle commitment for Texas?
Yeah, I talked to Sadir. Believe him and Jordan Matthews walked out at the same time. So, most of to talk to Jordan for obvious reasons, but I wanted to talk to Sadir and just trying to get his head's at. It's his first time visiting Texas since he committed, and he loved it. He said if anything, it really just solidified his decision. Not that he was even second guessing himself, but it kind of reminded him why he chose Texas. He thinks he's in the best spot for him, and he's kind of turned into a recruiter for Texas. Him and Jonte are two guys that have been active on social media, and told me that they're gunning for that #1 class. Jordan Matthews, a guy that he singled out. Jalen Hale's another guy that he made it known that they're recruiting, and he thinks this class is going to be really special. And it was just interesting to, hear his insight on why he committed and who he's recruiting. We wrote up an update on that on Orangebloods that you can read. And but yeah, he's turned into a recruiter, kind of one of those top guys. And just real quick, it wasn't at the pool day or pool party, but I went up to the True Buzz Media Day later that night, and talked to Jamel Johnson. He's a guy that back in the spring, maybe even the summer. I'm trying to think. It was at a 7-on-7 tournament. He told me that he was going to take some visits, and he was going to probably take some OVs during the fall and let the process play out. But True Buzz, he told me flat out. He said he's shutting it down. He's locked in. He doesn't feel any need to go see any of their schools. He's developed a really good relationship with Arch Manning and Derek Williams and Jonte Cook, and he said that he's just really excited to get down to Austin. And, he's a guy that has picked up, I think Florida offered him this summer. He's picked up some more interest there as well. Rivals to a 50 guy, so big for Terry Joseph and Sarkeesian to lock that down. But I think both those two, Sadir and Jamel, have turned into guys that are recruiting for the class, which definitely is important, especially in today's day and age, is social media and everything like that.
Yeah, I think Texas has done a good job because I'm thinking Trey Wisner told me the same thing. He was going to visit Florida State. He told me that in June, so fairly recently. And he told me on Thursday after the pool party, he goes, "Nah, I'm done. Not doing that anymore." Samaje Burrell was a guy that at one point talked about taking visits. I don't think he's going to. Ryan Niblett, the receiver commitment, had told me he was going to take visits. I talked to Ryan after his official visit. He goes, "No, not doing that anymore." So Texas has done a good job of some of these early commitments that maybe we're looking at it almost as a placeholder early on. Well, now they're all solid, and I think they see what Texas is building here with all this recruiting momentum that Texas had built up. So I think it's helped solidify a lot of guys. I'm looking at the list of guys that I talked to, and listen, I could talk for an hour about a lot. I mean, a lot of them. But one guy I didn't talk to that I need to get on the phone is one of the more interesting ones. Marcus Deal, the lineman out of Naaman Forest, who's uncommitted. He showed up. So, he's looking more and more like a bigger priority to Texas for me.
Yeah.
If they need a big body there, another big body along that defensive line to pair with Sadir Mitchell. So keep an eye there. But, a lot of Texas commitments there. You mentioned Jordan Matthews, who's uncommitted. The big news with Jordan, when I talked to him coming out of that pool party, he was going to visit Alabama for their season opening game. And then the next week he was going to be at Texas for week 2 when Texas hosts Alabama. And then he was going to decide. He told me, he goes, "Nah, that's no longer the case. He's going to commit pretty soon. So keep an eye on that one." I think that one looks good for Texas. So, lots has happened, Cole, in the last 4 or 5 days, but hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows and unicorns for Texas. Hasn't been the happiest of moments, but we both feel good news is coming, right? So Texas fans, keep your chin up and things will be just fine. So with that, Cole, I think we'll sign off. I've got a column I got to get to writing. I know you got to get your bags packed to do some traveling this week. So we'll just tell everybody thank you for watching. As always, primeshrimp.com up there at the top, promo code Orangebloods. Like this channel or like this video, subscribe to the channel for us, please. That helps us too. This has been the Crewcast. I'm Jason Suchomel. That's Cole Patterson. And who knows, man, like I said, Cole, maybe end of this week, next weekend, maybe we'll be recording one earlier than scheduled if Texas gets some good news. So everybody stay tuned. We appreciate y'all watching. Everybody have a great week.